Pete, first of all, we have to see that it is the mission of the church and that it leads to other things, but it is what we must be doing. And in our church over the years, we've had three priorities. Our first priority being worship, that all believers would learn to worship the Lord individually and corporately together. Then there's the thing of building up the body of Christ, which we all are involved in. And then third, there's outreach. Those are the three main focuses within the life of the church. And all of this is discipleship. This is what discipleship leads to. It leads to worship of God. It leads to being involved in a local community of believers and finding your gifts and roles in the church to build up the body of Christ. And then we are all to be involved somehow in mission. We become world Christians. We know that the world is bigger than our locale, and the Lord's work is bigger than that. And so we want to take his message wherever we can. So every disciple has to be thinking about those three areas and even asking the question, where do you want me to go, Lord? What do you want me to do? So with that in mind, then, one of the things that we would need to do is understand that if our overall goal is discipleship, to make these things happen, then we have to ask, of all the programs and activities that we have in the church, how many of them actually point to this, or they are ends in themselves? So if we have discipleship as the big umbrella, then all the other things we do should move us in that direction. And one author has said that if we include discipleship as just another program in the church, along with the youth ministry and the choir and the Sunday school and the nursery and so on, and we just see it as one of those things, we don't know what discipleship is, because it is the overarching thing that we do. So first I would say we have to see it as the mission of the church that leads to these other things. And then the next thing I would say is, and most churches haven't gone through this, and it would be a wonderful exercise, develop a theology of discipleship. And I would begin by, number one, what does the Bible say? And I've already mentioned the ones that I think are the great disciplers, the Apostle Paul and Jesus. I mean, you don't find two greater disciple makers than those two men in the New Testament. So develop a theology of discipleship. You can study the Gospels. There's so much on discipleship within the Gospels. You can look at how the church did it in the book of Acts, but then the epistles of Paul are key in understanding it. And then along with that, there are numerous really good books that have been written on this subject. Going back to Leroy Eims' book, which was written many years ago, The Art of Discipleship. And there's truly an art in it. And more recently, other books have been written. There's just a lot of really good books that can help us. And then thirdly, leaders in the church have to know their roles. And Paul's statement in Ephesians, he gave apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, and teachers for the equipping of the saints. So the role of the leaders is not that of doing all the work. It is that of equipping other people so they can do the work of the Lord, which obviously is discipleship. And then finally, after we've thought through all of these things, developed a theology, we have to structure our church life to enable that to happen, which in a moment I think I'll talk a little bit about what it is, just exactly what is a disciple maker, but people need to be trained to understand this.